Commit to change, commit to growth, commit to being uncomfortable. Because if you change and you're uncomfortable and you grow, you're going to create a life that you love.
Agent Power Huddle is a daily jumpstart, giving you all the tools you need to create an amazing real estate career. Led by top experts in the field, you'll learn how to sell more houses in less time while creating the life you want. Welcome to the Agent Power Huddle.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday.
Hello.
All right. Well, thank you guys for being here today. So today I wanted to talk about something that has been, ever since Cabo, has been heavy on my mind. And so what I want to talk about is investing in ourselves. I've been talking with my team about it, and I've just been thinking a lot about it. And I feel like this is something that a lot of times can be really easy to miss, especially early on in our career, where it feels like, I don't know, if you guys are anything like me, I guess I'll say, I know there was times, and there still is times, where I'm spending money or time or energy investing in myself, and it actually kind of feels like I'm wasting time or wasting money or wasting energy, because I should be doing other things. I should be doing lead gen. I should be calling people. I should be doing this, that, and the other thing. And the reality is, without that investment in ourselves on the front end, most of those efforts that we're making are either going to be not efficient, not succinct, not the right things, or we're not going to be very good at it, and we're not going to convert very well. So my belief is, if we want a successful business, it starts with us. We don't have money to invest in the stock market until we invest in ourselves. And so it all begins with investing with ourselves. So why is this so, important to me right now? Like, what happened in Cabo? So there was lots of things that happened in Cabo. And by the way, it cost, just for the tickets and the hotel room, it was about $2,500 for me and my wife to go to Cabo. And then there was airfare, and it was all inclusive, but we spent some other money and things like that. So there was a financial cost to going to Cabo, but it was a 6-day mastermind. If you could spend $2,500 and have a full immersive 6-day mastermind, would you do it? I would. I would totally do it again. There was one conversation that I had, and it just happened to be with Jesse Zagorski, who you guys know. There was one conversation that I had with him that completely changed my business and changed my life, quite frankly, because my business is a big part of my life. So one night, there was an agent that I've been trying to bring over. I've been talking with her, and Jesse and I sat down one night, and we were talking about the process of how to talk to agents with agent attraction and things like that. And we had a very real conversation about what I was doing right and what I was doing wrong. And has anybody here ever had one of those moments where it clicks? It's like, oh, how did I not see this like a year ago? Duh. It's so simple. What was one of those moments? Had I not been in Cabo, had I not had that conversation with Jesse in that environment at that moment, I would not be having this very conversation with you guys right here today. That's the power of investing in ourselves. Trust me, when I wrote the check for $2,500 to go to Cabo, I was like, what am I doing? Is this really a good use of my money? Well, whatever. It'll be kind of fun. I'll go with my wife and, whatever. Fast forward a week or two after the event, and it's abundantly clear that it was a very wise investment. So that's what I'm talking about today. That's why I'm on fire about investing in ourselves. And so with that, let's just go ahead and jump right in. All right. So let's start with the drawbacks. What's bad about investing in ourselves? Because the fact of the matter is, if it was all good, if it was all unicorns and rainbows, then we would all do it. But there are drawbacks to it. There are things that slow us down. So number one, it takes time. Number two, it takes money. That's my AI. Like, I don't know how to turn it off, but whenever I give like a thumbs up on my screen, AI like gives me a little thumbs up. So anyway, it takes time, it takes money, and it takes commitment. Because when we invest in ourselves, it's uncomfortable. And I think that this is the most important piece of the drawbacks to investing in ourselves, is that it's uncomfortable. It's unfamiliar. So when we walk into a new place or a new arena, when we're trying something new, whether it's in athletics or a physical place or a new relationship or whatever, when we go into some place that is unfamiliar, it's scary. And we tend to become more reserved. We tend to step back. And a lot of times we will just say, it's not worth it. And we just give up. That's where the commitment piece comes in. So here's the bottom line. I think what stops most people from investing in themselves, like let's look at Cabo, for example, $2,500 just to basically have the room. And that actually doesn't even include the ticket either. That's an unknown. I'm spending a lot of money and I don't know what I'm going to get out of it. I've never been to Cabo. I don't know if it's a good event. Maybe I'm wasting my time. Maybe I'm wasting my money, whatever. All of those things. There was a big piece of me that was like, what are you doing? Stop it. Don't hit send. Don't do this. Like, what are you doing? Money doesn't grow on trees. So there's a big part of me that was like, let's just not do it then. Let's stay predictable. Let's stay comfortable. See, if I don't invest in myself, I know exactly what I'm going to get. I'm going to get the exact same results I'm getting right now. They may not be the results that I want, but I know what they are. And so human beings have a tendency to stay where they're comfortable. People would rather be comfortable and unhappy than uncomfortable and successful. Because there's a lot of what ifs in that whole successful piece. And I'm not just talking about money. I'm talking about like successful in life. We have to get uncomfortable if we want to grow. So those are some of the drawbacks of investing in ourselves. So what are some of the benefits? Well, ironically, we talk about kind of the chicken or the egg. Do I make more money and then invest in myself? Or do I have to invest in myself to make more money? Right? Which comes first? If you ask me, you got to invest in yourself first. You got to find the money. You got to find the time. You've got to make that a priority so that you can gain the benefits of investing in yourself, which is more money, more time, more joy, and maybe most importantly, more confidence. So going back to this story with Jesse, with agent attraction, I haven't had a ton of confidence with it. There's been a lot of still just kind of wishy-washy, like, I think I know what to say. I think I know what's next, like kind of confident. After this conversation with Jesse, I know exactly what I need to do. I know exactly what I need to say. When I sit down in front of people, I am confident. Like, who wants to feel more confident in everything that you do? Your listing appointments, your buyer appointments, your phone calls, everything that you do, you're like, I got it. Well, that doesn't just happen. That is created, that is generated through our dedication to investing in ourselves, having conversations with people who are where we want to be, and then listening to what they say, and then implementing what we say we're going to do. That's it. That's investing in ourselves. So once again, the benefits are more money, more time, more joy, more confidence. But if you want those things, you're going to have to take a risk. And it's scary. So would you rather be comfortable and predictable and the same, which isn't necessarily a bad thing? A lot of people stay there. Or do you prefer to take a risk and see what you can create for yourself? Ultimately, that's the question that you have to ask yourself. So what I'd like to talk about now is, and by the way, if anybody has anything to say or you have any questions, like this doesn't have to be me talking at you guys. So does anybody have any thoughts or questions on that before I move on to the next section. All right, cool. All right. So let's talk about the types of investment in ourselves. So, just kind of keeping in that frame of this is investing in ourselves. So a lot of investments that we make in ourselves are going to cost money. Not all of them, but a lot of them do. So going back to that question though, do I make more money first and then choose to invest in myself? Or do I invest in myself first so that I can make more money? All I can tell you is that in my experience, when I have made investments in myself that I didn't feel like I could financially make, and I'm not saying to be like totally careless, they were still calculated risks, but there's been many times in my life where I have made investments. Cabo is a perfect example where I'm like, I don't know if this is the right move. And afterwards, I'm like, I'm so thankful that I did it. So if you're thinking about this, you're thinking about an investment, maybe there's something coming up. Maybe there's an opportunity coming up, Miami, for example, which isn't until October. And you're thinking about, should I do it? Should I not do it? I don't have the money. I don't know. Well, find it. Find the money. We all find money for Netflix. We find money for the expensive lease on the new car so we can get a new car every, 2 or 3 years. We find the money to go to the bar and get an extra drink or two, right? We find the money for all of these things. We can find the money to financially invest in ourselves. If money is the problem, then that's the first indication that you should invest in yourself more. If money is the problem, that's the first indication you should invest in yourself more. So once again, saving and stretching money is uncomfortable, but that's kind of the point. That's a practice in and of itself. It's that push. It's that uncomfortableness. It's that, all right, I'm gonna push through the pain. I'm gonna do this thing that's uncomfortable. It's that practice of pushing through the pain that actually helps us grow and makes us better. So even just saving and stretching our money for this event that we're waiting for, that in and of itself, it actually makes us better. My family and I right now are on a financial fast. We've got big plans. The fact of the matter is I actually made a misstep in a real estate investment. And so we need to get our savings back up. That's more important to us than any of this other stuff. So we're on a financial fast. It sucks, but it's also great. But we're making the sacrifices because we have a bigger picture in mind. So the first type of investment in ourselves is going to be financial. Find the money. And so, okay, great. So I go out, I make the sacrifices, I find the money to invest in myself. So now, how do I invest in myself with that money? How do I leverage that money to make myself better? Well, there's a few different ways to do that. So the first one is going to be personal growth. And there's lots of different types of personal growth. You can start with the basic of the basic, which is where I started. The very first book that I ever read in personal growth was How to Win Friends and Influence People. I used to be a teacher before I got into real estate. First book I read was How to Win Friends and Influence People, and I immediately was like, oh, how come nobody showed me this book when I was a teacher, when I was a basketball coach, the high school? Like, oh my God, it would have made so much better. So take your money, buy some books. If you're not on Audible, like we're real estate agents, we drive everywhere. Audible should be our best friend. I know some of you probably have podcasts and stuff. That's great too. The nice thing about Audible is if you're sitting there at coffee with somebody and they mention a book, oh, have you read this book about this topic? If it's interesting to you, what I do is I pull up Audible right there in front of them and I say, hey, I'm not texting. I'm just going to pull this book up, and I buy it right on Audible. So I buy 12 credits at a time because you get them at a discount. And when somebody recommends a book, I buy it right then and there. And then when I'm ready to read it, I just kind of scroll through my library and pick one and download it and listen to it. So there's one way that you can take that financial investment on a very low level and invest in yourself through reading, or maybe.
Hey, Dan.
Yeah.
I just put in the chat earlier about The Slight Edge by Jim Olson, because you talked about being uncomfortable, and he talks about that throughout the book, about how to, you'll be uncomfortable, but you'll be in that top 5% by being uncomfortable versus the 95% that live comfortable and then fail.
Right. Yeah. And is he the guy, what is the doctor, the brain, he has a podcast, and he's like a brain doctor, a neuroscientist. Can't think of his name. Anyway, he was talking about a part of the brain that when we make ourselves uncomfortable, it actually is like one of the only parts of our brain that when we practice being uncomfortable, it actually grows. And when we stop being uncomfortable, it shrinks. And it's kind of this part of this like innate drive that we have to like make ourselves uncomfortable. It's like nature's way of pushing us forward. It actually changes our brain when we're uncomfortable. And the more that we do it, the more willing we are to get uncomfortable, and the more comfortable we get with being uncomfortable, which ultimately creates, like, here's the thing. I don't want to go down a rabbit hole here, but everybody wants to be comfortable. I want to be comfortable. But as someone who is consistently pushed through the pain of uncomfortableness, I've discovered that the benefits of being uncomfortable greatly outweigh the benefits of staying small and comfortable. That's just my experience. So I'll leave that at that. Thank you, Monica.
Yeah, Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Oh, another one. I love Joe Dispenza.
Yeah, Dr. Wayne Dyer. These great doctors.
So Wayne Dyer was the second book that I read. And what was his big one? Wishes Fulfilled. That book changed my life. Love that book. All right. So we're talking about how to invest in ourselves, taking that money, and we're talking about personal growth. So we talked about books. Go get some books. You got Wayne Dyer. You've got all sorts of people. Jeff Olson has been thrown out. Richard Rohr is a Franciscan monk who's amazing. So here's all sorts of resources for you just on that front. Okay. You've also got seminars. There's things like Landmark, PSI seminars, which I went through all 3 levels of PSI seminars. And that like hugely changed my life, really pushed me out of my comfort zone. Seminars are expensive. They can be. And they take a large investment of time and energy on top of financial. And so those can be barriers to doing these things. Every time I've done like a 3-day seminar or even a 7 or 10-day seminar, every time I'm like, oh, I don't have the time. I wasn't even worried about the money. I don't have the time. This is stupid. I'm wasting my time. I don't know why I'm here. Why am I making this investment? And then when I'm done, I'm like, this was great. So seminars can be a fantastic way to have massive breakthroughs in a short period of time, but you have to make the investment financially and time. Those are the hardest part with seminars. But I would highly recommend going to PSI seminars, PSI, or Landmark. They're both really good. And there's other ones too, but those are just a couple. Okay, events. Got Cabo, Miami, local events. These are just events that EXP puts on. And then you've got events that, other people are putting on within EXP. You've got so many opportunities with this company. I guarantee you more with this company than any other company. You have opportunities to get together with people for a day, for 3 days, for 5 days, for 7 days to really change the way that you're doing things. These are, like I said, Cabo was like a 6-day mastermind. When we go to Miami, you're going to come home with way more ideas than you're ever going to be able to implement. So you'll be able to pick 1, 2, or 3 that are really important and implement those. So if you're looking to invest in yourself, find the money to go to these events. It is not a luxury. If you want to be better at what you do, you want to be top 3%, top 5%, it's not a luxury. It's a requirement if that's what you want. And the other thing that the other benefits from going to these events is not only is it like a mastermind, but one conversation can change your life. That one conversation I had with Jesse, I'll never be the same. Wouldn't have had it if I wasn't in Cabo. So it also builds community. My relationship with him is stronger. My relationship with all the other people that I was with out there is stronger. I met some people from New York, all sorts of stuff. So it builds community. And then it reinforces these ideas over and over and over again. Jesse actually didn't say anything that I hadn't heard before. He just reframed it in a different way, and I was listening to it in a new space. That's why it clicked. So by going to these events, you reinforce these same ideas over and over and over and over and over and over, and eventually it clicks. And then you're never the same again. So find the way to go to these events, find the money for it. And then there's things like coaching, right? So there's lots of different types of coaching. There's personal development coaching, like shadow work, where you're looking back at your past and how that affects what you're doing right now. There's therapy, there's business coaches, there's real estate coaches, there's mindset coaches, there's all sorts of strategies or people who can help you grow as a human and as a business owner. And so if you are willing to make that financial investment and that time investment, you're willing to do the things that you say you're going to do, go get a coach. Everyone should have a coach. Everyone should have a mentor. If you are serious about taking your life to the next level, taking your business to the next level, this is not an option. This is a requirement. You have to invest in yourself first to get where it is that you want to go. It's not the other way around. Coaches can put your life on fast forward if you hire the right person. Let's see here. Oh, one thing that I will say about coaching too, though, is that one of the other great benefits to it is it's specific feedback to the challenges that you're facing and specific solutions to the challenges that you're facing. But the big rub with hiring a coach is it's expensive because it's tailored to you, right? But it's an investment. It's not an expense, it's an investment, but it can be expensive. And so if you're going to do that, the only way to really make it work is if you're self-directed. If you're going into these meetings like, I'm going to squeeze this lemon as much as I possibly can. I'm going to get all the juice out of this thing. And then you learn something about yourself and you actually implement it. Not once, not twice, but over and over and over and over and over again. That's the only way that you're going to get the value out of coaching. So if you're just going to be like, hey, that's a great idea. Yeah, I really should do that. I need to do that. And then you don't waste your money on a coach. You've got to be ready to rock and roll. You've got to be ready to implement so that when you say, yes, I'm going to do that, you do it. And there's no questions asked. You're doing it. So it takes self-direction and it takes a lot of self-reflection, which once again is very uncomfortable. If we want to grow, we've got to invest in ourselves. And when we invest in ourselves, it's always uncomfortable. Always. So get used to it. It's part of the fun, I think. All right. And the other way that we can invest in ourselves, so we're talking about financial investments. We talked about taking your money, finding the money, saving money so you can go to seminars, so you can go to events, so you can hire coaches, so you can buy books, do all of those things. Another way to invest in yourself is just those daily investing in yourself. This is free. Waking up on time at the same time every day, right? Asking yourself, what's important to me today? And getting that done first. Is it physical activity? Is it a meditation? Whatever it is. Maybe it's, I got this one thing that I need to get done before noon. Whatever it is, it's about those routines and habits and investing in your routines and habits. So instead of just like waking up willy-nilly and just kind of like running all over the place and like, I hope it all works out, you're investing in creating systems and practices that you can repeat over and over and over and over and over again. You do it enough times and it just becomes a habit. That's an investment in yourself because that's not easy. It's easier to get up, grab a cup of coffee, and just stare out the window. And by the way, here's the thing. We all have habits and we all have routines. It's just naturally happens. What I'm talking about here is investing in the analysis of your routines, of your habits, to say, are those the routines and habits that I should be doing, that I want to be doing? Are they going to give me the result that I want? And then adjusting your routines and habits to match what it is you're trying to create. That's the investment piece. This costs you nothing unless you hire a coach to help you kind of refine that, and they can fast forward that process for you. But this is a free investment. And invest in yourself daily. So there's so many people out there that say, oh, wow, your morning routine should be this and then this and then this and this. It doesn't matter. As long as you have an intentional daily routine and intentional habits, that's all that matters. Now, my routine is some kind of physical activity, meditation. I follow Jay Shetty's principle. It's called TIME, Time. Thankful, inspiration, meditation, and exercise. So what am I grateful for? Read something inspirational, or watch a video or podcast, meditate, and exercise. I do that every day. That's my morning routine. And then I track it on my greatness tracker every day too. So just to give you an idea of how I do my morning. Now, here's the other thing that I'll say about this. It's hard to create new habits. If my habit is to get up and like turn on Looney Tunes every day, and that's what I like to do, and I'm like, oh man, I would be much more productive if I meditated instead. It's going to be hard to break that habit and form a new habit. The only way to do that is through repetition. You do it one day, then you do it 2 days, then you do it 3 days, then you do it 4 days, and then it becomes a new habit. So just prepare yourself. If you're going to invest in yourself on your routines and habits, prepare to be uncomfortable. Prepare to be really, really, really intentional. You have to think about it really hard at the beginning, and then it becomes a habit, and then you don't have to think about it as hard. So it's hard on the front end, but it's worth it on the back end. And then the last thing is, what I'm really talking about here is experimentation. So I was a science teacher back when I taught in middle school. And so I have kind of adopted this concept of like experimenting with our own life, treating our life like an experiment, like a scientific experiment. You guys all know the scientific method, right? You kind of like, well, I think if I do this, this is what'll happen. And then you try it, and then you're like, oh, okay, so this actually happened. And now you have a result, and then you get to refine, and you test and test and test and test and test until you get it dialed in. That's what I'm talking about here. So your morning routine, you may think you need to meditate, and you do it, and it's like, oh, this sucks. I don't think that's what'll happen, but you got to play with it yourself. So be prepared to have some fun with it. It doesn't have to be so serious all the time. It's okay to play with something and be like, that didn't work. Now you know. Same thing I tell my kids with their food. Try the broccoli. If you don't like it, who cares? Now you know. So experiment with these things, go to an event, make that investment in yourself. And if it's terrible, don't go to another one. Find a different event to go to, a different way to invest in yourself. Once again, I don't think that'll happen, but be willing to play around with stuff and experiment. So we got 2 minutes left here, so I'm just going to wrap up here. In the end, investing in ourselves really means, here's what I'll say. Number one, find the money. Find the money first. Don't let money be the excuse for not investing in yourself. So first, find the money. Save so that you have the money to invest in yourself financially. Next, find the time. Don't be afraid to dedicate the time. Like me, that was my bigger problem, was I don't have the time, which is a bunch of BS. That was just my excuse. So find the money, find the time, find the resources, coaches, books, mentors, events, personal growth seminars, whatever it is, find the resources, then take the money that you saved, invest your time and your money into those things. Get better, you'll make more money, you'll get more confident, you'll be better at what you do, so you have more money and more time because you know how to leverage, and you're going to have more opportunity to invest more, and then that ball really starts rolling down the hill, and that's when we really create a life for ourselves that's beyond what we ever thought was possible. So I'll just end with this. Commit to change, commit to growth, Commit to being uncomfortable. You don't have to. That's just my encouragement. Because if you change and you're uncomfortable and you grow, you're going to create a life that you love. So rather than just listening and being a student, like, oh, that's really cool, that's interesting, yeah, but not implementing, go implement, experiment, play, figure out what works for you, and then incrementally and intentionally improve your life day over day through investments in yourself. So appreciate you guys being here. If anybody has any questions, I'll hang out for a minute, but otherwise I'll see you guys later.
Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, thank you.
If you'd like more information or to get connected to the Agent Power Huddle, join our free Facebook group. This call was designed for the agents in our EXP organization, but open to any agent from any brokerage. If you're a guest and you're interested in learning more about EXP or our specific resources within the Agent Collective, reach out to the person who invited you to this call to get more info. Produced by the Agent Collective Media Network.